example, because they're just too special for day jobs. They have to be something different than regular people so that regular people feel like they can invest in the mythology that these people are special and therefore find it worthwhile to purchase their stuff.
It's a romantic idea, but
yeah.
It's totally stupid.
It's completely stupid. And I mean, romanticism in general is one of the things that, well, it's the thing that really pushed like the rationalist sort of original form of capitalism, a la Adam Smith, into the sort of fascistic post-capitalism that we ended up with in the late 1800s, like with the onset of the Industrial Revolution. So like, that sort of whole mental ontology of that romantic idea is really what makes life now like an unbearable pit of like economic fascism. It's true. I mean, it's just a fact. And that romantic ontology is really repulsive. And so the idea that like we're adults and we have social responsibility and we're grown-ups and we can have jobs and go to bed and wake up and take care of ourselves and stuff like that, as opposed to being sort of overfed music babies who have to like party all the time, and we have to stay up really late. But I mean, like, that's so lame. Staying up late sucks. And rock and roll's really boring. I don't know, that kind of stuff. I don't know. The Rolling Stones are terrible.
Owen, do you find that doing a lot of touring and sort of being in those kinds of circuits a lot more than Steve has participated in them, do you find that kind of romantic role-playing goes on a lot in the situation?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, but I'm not as kind of, even though I try to differ in my own lifestyle away from that sort of stuff, I don't have sort of a rigid intolerance for it as much as Steve does.
It's not even so much about individual practices or how people actually live either. Like, being a touring musician is a lot like being in the army for the most part. Like, you have to wake up at certain times, go to bed at certain times, get in a thing and be carried to another place, unload a bunch of heavy crap, load another bunch of heavy crap. You know, like, there's really no room to like, unless you're taking things really easy or doing really well, there's like no room to like get laid all the time and like hoover up piles of drugs, unless you're in a really large band where there's schmoes who will load the van for you while like the rest of you go off and get teabagged or something. Which has happened to me too.
But I don't think that, you know, getting,
but like it's not
facilitating a more comfortable sort of like touring situation for a band invariably doesn't work. You know, they're like, the best kind of tour is getting into a car with people you like, and hopefully some people who are friends, and just going and playing a gig. And as it gets more and more like stressful, and you get night liners, and you get, you know, guitar techs and everything like that, that's when you start to, you know, start to go crazy. Or at least that's when I've seen people kind of start to go crazy. It's far better to take the horse by the reins yourself.
Well, yeah, I mean, the same idea brings us pretty closely into talking about blocks in general as well, because it's very similarly the idea that you're better on tour if you're taking care of a lot of your own crap than if you're being carted around.
Oh, definitely. You can like stop for milkshakes and run in fields. You can do all sorts of
You can play with the bunnies at the Big Apple on your way to Montreal.
Oh, I hate the Big Apple.
Oh, it's got bunnies and llamas.
Oh no.
Minigo.
No way.
Oh, the best thing we did.
Have you seen the people working in the
kitchen?
kitchen? People working in the kitchen, the Big Apple looks so depressed.
Of course, they live in between Kingston and like Belleville.
I think the apple just makes them look more depressed too. It's like visual contrast.
If there was gonna be like a place that had like Lovecraftian horror, like work within it in Ontario, it would be Kingston.
No, I want to, I don't know. When I go to the Big Apple, I feel like I want to liberate somebody.
Like a princess hidden inside the Big Apple.
Break open a window and like, come on, you can get out of here. We have a band.
And a whole bunch of like Koopas come out of somewhere and like spit fire at you or something.
No.
No.
Just the happy apple people.
Yeah, just the unhappy apple people. Maybe some bunnies as well.
Unhappy apple.
But yeah, I mean, we can maybe sort of explain a little bit about the ideas behind blocks coming out of that kind of set of thoughts, I think. Do you want to talk, Steve, a little bit about how Blocks got started? And
Well, all right. So Block started in early 2003 with some conversations between me and my friend Mark McLean. Mark McLean was the keyboard player in the Sick Lipstick, if anyone's keeping track of who is who. Me and McLean wanted to start a record label, and we wanted to only do special stuff with it. And we wanted it to be like pretty local and friendly and fun. And so we tried, and so the first thing we put out really was the Barcelona Pavilion EP, but actually around that time Mark McLean was having problems with his band, and like problems making ends meet, and like moved home for a while, moved to Ottawa for a while, because he was seeing a girl in Ottawa who eventually moved here and everything's fine. But for a while,
it's nice that story ends up that.
But for a while Mark was a real mess, and I really lost track of him. Anyway, Mark stopped being involved very shortly after we had the conversations about actually naming Blocks, and I was just sort of left to figure things out. And so we started putting out records with friends like me and Owen lived together at that time at 19 Major, and it made sense for the people who were involved to work together on the things that we were doing, because we were just trying to like make it happen, and we wanted to make things more craft-based. And then somewhere along the line, I think maybe about a year and a half ago, maybe even 2 years ago now, I thought the best thing for Blocks, because at that point Blocks had no actual form, like there was no Blocks bank account. There was an increasing amount of money coming in, but yet at the same time there was no actual format to contain it. We had no formal structure, so no one knew who was ultimately responsible for what. I had a lot of responsibility that I really shouldn't have been having at all in the first place, and had way more on my plate than really I could handle. So we needed some sort of structure to disseminate, to sort of spread power out amongst the people involved, first of all, because it was concentrating too heavily within me, and also to give it some sort of decision-making, to give it some sort of formal shapes that we could know how we were going to make decisions, what decisions were important to us as a group, those kind of things. And we decided on being a workers' co-op, which is an actual thing, first of all. It's not a fun word we made up. It's like a legal thing that you have to apply for. It's a
Still
form of
always in
corporation.
quotations whenever people write about it.
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's a real thing. It's a workers' co-op, okay?
It should be capitalized.
It's a
without
workers'
quotations.
co-op. It shouldn't be capitalized because it's just a thing.
No,
It's not a
exaggerated.
person, but yeah. But putting it in quotations is like that's like saying collective, which has no legal. You can't incorporate as a collective. The government isn't like, you're a collective, here's your tax form for collectives. You know, like a co-op has a different relationship with the government. It's something that you have to register with the government to be. And what a workers' co-op is basically, it's what happens when, for example, let's say an auto parts manufacturer is pulling out of a factory in a town, but they offer the people in the town the opportunity to, the people who work in the factory, the opportunity to buy the factory as a group, because none of them could individually afford to own it. And therefore the people who work there are the people who own the place where they work. And that seemed like the best idea for me in a way. Like the musicians who release records on it are the ones who make all the decisions about what's happening, how it is to work. And that made it the most sense to me. And it's interesting because I've met other people who work that way since. There's a place in the American South and there's a place in Newfoundland that are also cooperatively incorporated sort of music releasing concerns. But